Welcome back to the Early Weigh-In Podcast. Back this Saturday, heading to Azerbaijan for the first time, UFC BAKU. Headlined by a big light heavyweight fight between former champion Jamal Hill taking on former title challenger Khalil Rountree. And then Azerbaijan's own Rafael Fiziev taking on the surging Ignacio Bahamondes in the co-main event. 12 fights for us to go through. As always, going to recap last week, which was a solid night from us both. I know we're both on the same straight plays here. I hit Phil Rowe earlier in the week, popped out of town for vacation. Unfortunately, didn't get to double down on it. Profited 2 units on that win. And, ultimately, I saw the pace getting to Loosa, man, and I thought Phil Rowe was potentially going to get him out of there in round 2 until he got reckless and got dropped in the clinch there. But, yeah, happy to see him get that round 3 finish. Kamaru Usman, again, man, almost doubled down on it because I felt like, me and you've been saying for so long that Buckley just wasn't in that top 5 yet, but still happy to profit 2.2 units there. And then Mansur Abdul Malik Brundage going over 1.5 kind of screwed me there from a really big night. But, yeah, still happy to profit 3.2 units, really nice ROI, and killer night from yourself, man.
Yeah, big 8.4 unit night for me. Hit the Kamaru Usman as my biggest bet of the night for 2 units at plus 220. Honestly, I'd probably make the same bet in the McGee-Chiesa fight. I thought that, maybe we could get some funky scorecards because there was nothing that was happening in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
And plus 270 in a fight that I think, could have gone either way with just a little bit more activity from one guy and Court McGee. Not too upset with that play at plus 270. The Phil Rowe line at plus 160, like jumping 40 points right before fight time, it kind of forced my hand. So I ended up jumping on that with you for 1.25 units. And then I think my best play of the night was Ochoa by TKO. We were just talking about, I wish I'd hit that a little bit harder. It was plus 330. I put 0.61 units to win 2 units. And dang, I had been talking about it on the podcast. I wish I would have hit that one a little bit harder. Craig wins by submission. I was okay with that fight becoming a no contest. I don't know. Bellato swings really hard, although that was an acting job for sure. He is. I think if they rebook that fight, he'll probably get the win. And then Garbrandt, plus 3.5, maybe not the best showcasing, but he did win 1 round, and I thought that would be the case. So I won a unit right there. Like I said, plus 8.4 units, 131% ROI. I will take that all day. Got washed on PFL the week before that, so I definitely needed it. And we move to the first fight of the night in the heavyweight division. A couple of lower-level heavyweights. Mohammed Usman taking on Hamdi Al-Dewab. We both made a play on Mohammed Usman here, man. He's started as the dog. People are starting to figure it out, I think, as they're doing tape study. We got him at plus 140, and I think that'll be the best line that we get him from this point moving forward in the week. Hamdi, not that great, man. He's been squeaking by with a few of his wins, and I think Mo Usman's big enough and pushes a good enough pace that he is going to win minutes. And barring, him getting flat, on his back for an extended amount of time, I think that he's going to be the more active fighter in the cage. I think he's going to, like I said, win minutes and ultimately come out on top, probably by decision. Plus 140 is certainly a good enough price tag for me to get on it. So 1 unit at plus 140. I think Mo Usman's the side here.
Yeah, I think Mo Usman's clearly the side as well. Made a good point in terms of physicality, man. Mo Usman's twice as physical as guys like Dontel Mays, Jamal Pogues, where Hamdi is kind of able to get his bully style going, land his takedowns. So I think Usman puts up a better fight in the takedown defense. I like his volume. I know he can go 15, and probably I can say he has more power than both Pogues and Dontel Mays too. So yeah, Usman's clearly the side for me. We were talking about it. I told you I think Usman has potential to go out there and look minus 150, to go look 60% here, where Hamdi, just like every fight, man, fades. The only way he can win is by, landing a couple of takedowns and honestly getting close judges' decisions that he sometimes doesn't even deserve. So I think Hamdi will even struggle to cover his price tag. I think Hamdi looks pick'em if he does win this fight, where Usman could go out here and clearly look the favorite. So, yeah, happy to get plus money on him starting off the night. Tagir Ulanbekov, Azat Maxim all the way down men's flyweight. If Tagir doesn't get the submission, which I don't think he gets in round 1, so it has to, I think, come in round 2 or 3. I don't know how the fight's not at least close and competitive, man. Maxim starts hot. He's definitely the bigger hitter of the two, the better striker of the two. So, yeah, I know you're a little bit more passionate on it. You've already got a little bit down on Maxim money line. I'm kind of looking to see what DraftKings is going to get me on the 3.5 because I do think he's going to win round one, or at least land the bigger shots in some of these rounds to steal something. But oh man, I kind of kind of similar to the Charles Johnson. I think Maxim could have a hot start, kind of fade down the stretch, and Tagir could kind of get on top of him at points in this fight too. So I am going to lean the Tagir side, but early on, Maxim comes out the gates hot. He's going to be a hard person to deal with. So let you kind of chime in on what you think about it.
Yeah, dude, I think there's some clear advantages for Azad. I think early on, like you touched on, he's going to be much faster, man. He does a good job of switching stances. He has a really good straight left, and he throws in combinations as well. I think Tagir, he's somebody who, if he doesn't get that takedown and isn't able to ride out an entire round on somebody's back, he is super hittable. And, I've seen him multiple times duck down to avoid pressure from fighters, and Azad does a really good job of throwing knees up the middle. Not to mention, I think if Azad is proactive with his wrestling, and he at least engages in the wrestling first, we've seen Tagir getting taken down multiple times in the past, even with Tim Elliott. Tim Elliott shooting, naked power double legs and actually getting the takedowns on Tagir. I just don't think that Tagir's the one who's used to having to defend takedowns. It's more likely that he gets in close, uses that physicality, which he does have an advantage in this fight. He's a little bit stronger and gets the takedowns for himself. But if Azad is proactive, if the fight stays on the feet, I think he's a much better striker. He's always bouncing. He's got really good hips. So even if Tagir does get in on him, I think that he can avoid getting taken down. And at the end of the day, he's just a crisper striker. I think he clearly won that Tyson Nam fight. He dropped CJ twice in the first round. And you got to give credit to CJ. CJ's a top 10 fighter. If they only gave him 5 rounders, he's probably a top 5 fighter. That's a tough fight for anybody. And we almost saw Azad knock him out in the first round. And this line is probably, Tagir minus 160. I really think that this line's getting out of hand. So yeah, I hit him at plus 345. I'm thinking about laying some more on him by knockout because I really do see that option. Tagir's been dropped by worse strikers in the past, and this is Azad all day for me. So I'm happy to get on him at that price tag. The plus 3.5 looks good as well, but I think I'm just going to trust my read here. Take the plus 350, whatever it is, and then also sprinkle a little bit on that KO, which I really do see happening. Moving on to, let's see, is it the girls' fights?
Yep.
Yeah, Irina Alekseeva versus Claudia Saigula. Saigula, haven't gotten to see much of her. I know she's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu. She's got decent ground and pound when she ends up on top. But whenever she's on bottom, man, she looks like a fish out of water.
Right.
Decent striking, but I think any amount of grappling that Alekseeva has success with, I think she's probably done for. On the Alekseeva fight, she throws really hard punches whenever she chooses to. She's super tough. She has decent hip tosses, and I think that that's going to eventually find her way on top of Saigula and probably finish the fight. Pretty low level all around, but I think the under might be the play. I think both these girls have such huge holes in their game that we could see one of the two take advantage of them. I think it's kind of lopsided for Alekseeva because she does have much more of the finishing upside. But relying on Alekseeva to win this fight at minus 280 seems like a poor decision. So the under at I think it's plus money or at least close. That's how I'd play this fight if I was going to pick anybody. Alekseeva's the pick. I think she gets the sub.
Don't know how much I can add to it, man. I see the fight the exact same way. I think Alekseeva gets on top. I think she finds the submission. Saigula, I think, is kind of one of these just Karolina Kowalkiewicz, projects. Pretty girl from Poland. She now at American top team, striker. But, I agree. You get this girl on the bottom, and she doesn't have much for you. And if Alekseeva does get her there, I think she finishes. But, yeah, with the girls having so much holes in their game, like you said, why get greedy? The under's plus money already. I wish it was a little bit better, like you'd see a lot of these other girl fights, but the bookies are catching on. They know if one of these girls gets on top, it could be over quick, and I think that's how it happens. So I am kind of targeting some violence here myself, maybe in the next fight as well. Staying at women's bantamweight, Daria Zelenikova taking on Melissa Mullins. Girls have already fought before, man. And I think the same thing could happen again. Zelenkova's takedown defense, it's improving, but like Segula, man, when she gets put on her back, she doesn't have anything for you. And Ailin Perez ran through her. We've seen Melissa Mullins get on top of her and finish her. And I think the same thing happens here. I think Melissa Mullins is going to get on top, and Melissa Mullins is going to finish her. So I don't want to get greedy and take Alexieva ITD, Melissa Mullins ITD, but I'm going to do something, man. And for a girl fight, I wish the violence gave me better numbers. So I might try to get cute, throw something together, but I do like Melissa Mullins ITD here.
Yeah, so a little bit early stoppage in that first fight on the regional scene. Daria was butchering the face of Mullins before getting taken down. It's tough to bank on a women's fighter to get the finish. So I don't think that she finds any different success. She might have it on the feet before Mullins gets on top, but Mullins is just a bigger girl all around. I do think that once she gets there to the mat, she'll probably crush her. And even if she doesn't, I think that Mullins is actually a solid parlay piece. The under is obviously super appealing, but usually rematches don't go the same way twice in a row. So it's, I wouldn't be surprised if people are betting that ITD on Mullins, and she goes out there and just rides top control. I gotta imagine after the last fight with I forget it, but Ailin Perez with Zelenskova. Hopefully she spent the last 8 months in the gym working on wrestling takedown defense, so or at least submission, avoiding submissions, So Mullins, I think she gets the win. Minus 270 is a really tough ask for a lower level girl fight, but she probably covers the price tag, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was by decision. So
yeah,
a little bit of a yellow flag in my opinion for the under there. Going to 185 middleweight, Ishmael Nardiev taking on Jun Young Park. Man, this is a fight that I like the under. Both these guys have been going to decision in their last few fights, and I think we're getting a pretty decent price tag. Nardiev, he works really hard whenever he's in there. He throws heavy. He's constantly active. And one thing that's working in the favor of this under is that Nardiev can get a little reckless, You look at Park, he's faced a higher level of competition. He throws a good jab, which I think will frustrate Nardiev into making some errors. And Park does a really good job on front lock chokes, on botched takedown attempts. He's really quick to sync up a guillotine, sync up a Darce, stuff like that. He commits to those subs. On top of all that, I think Nardiev throws with such high volume and pushes such a high pace that we could see a similar fight to the RoboCop fight, where it just kind of gets Park out of his rhythm of being able to just sit behind a jab for 15 minutes. And violence could be pushed there. So I see a little bit of upside for both guys to get the job done inside the distance. I like the under in this one. It's plus 108. Sign me up for that. But if I had to pick a side, I think Nardiev's the side here, man. I just think that he's going to be the more active fighter. And I think Jun Young Park has benefited from some pretty forgiving matchmaking in the last 5 of his fights.
So I think we're going to have first little disagreement here. Earlier in the week, I told you I was kind of thinking Ismail Nardiev, if anyone's going to get a finish earlier in the fight, I do think it's him. He does come out. He throws heavy, spinning, wild attacks. But, man, I think that Jun Young Park's wrestling is going to wear on him ultimately. I really do. I think the pace, once Jun Young Park gets into his game, into his rhythm, I think the pace is going to be there, the takedowns, the cage control. And I like Park to kind of to put a pace on him and get him out of there in rounds 2 or 3. So I know if that, bit of disagreement kind of still supports your under, your under look there. But I'm on the other side. I like Park. I think he comes out here, gives him a vet lesson. I know, like you said earlier before the pod, it's been early, but Nardiev's clearly a guy who's finishable, has quit in fights due to leg kicks and things before. And I think, Park could put on a lesson, give him something in the cardio department, the rest of the department, get the job done here. So I'm on the other side, but don't necessarily hate the violence look that you're eyeing there. In our prelim main event, we've got Sung Hyun Ko taking on Oban Elliott. Oban Elliott's not a guy that I like really at minus 500. I think it's kind of being overrated after coming off a big KO win last time out over Basel Hafez. But I ultimately think he's a decision fighter. I give him his props. Dude's tough. He can be hurt, but he'll fight through it. He's tough. He can put together a grappling clinic, and he's got really good gas tank. So I think he gets it done by decision. But I was telling you, this Ko guy, not the best, but his striking and his profile of a fighter, I think, is the style that could give Elliott the trouble. The one that could hurt him on the feet, clearly being the better striker. Elliott's fought, like I said, Basil Hafez, Preston Parsons, guys who are, in my opinion, grappler first and don't really have the hands and the striking to hurt Elliott. And I think Ko can. Do I think it happens? Probably not. But if there's some insane, early knockout props, maybe I dabble. But ultimately, probably a pass for me here in the prelim main event. I'll take Oban Elliott.
So Oban Elliott, I also am on the Oban Elliott side. Ko, a lot of knockouts on the regional scene against lower level opponents, but I think that those will come less and less as he starts facing a higher caliber of competition. He stands really straight up, has big power, southpaw, and plays that inches game. He reminds me a little bit of Conor McGregor. It's always kind of, I don't really love comparing him to Conor McGregor, but when you see somebody fight like that, it's hard not to. He rolls with the punches, though. For somebody who stands as straight up as he does a good job of rolling with punches, and I think that that's just somebody who's really comfortable in those striking exchanges. Oban Elliott, he has really good cardio, and I think, kind of a snoozer. Like he's more than willing to get to a dominant position and then ride out that round. And I think that we probably see that. I think this is a fight where we see KO or bust, because he probably does look like a plus 380, plus 400 if he doesn't find that kill shot. Oban Elliott's going to be able to get him on the ground. And when he does, there's not a lot coming out of Ko to make me feel like he would actively work to his feet and be able to land that shot again. So once that one takedown happens for Oban, I expect him to stay on it until the round restarts, or the round starts for the next one. And, I don't know, dude. I don't really see Ko getting it done any other way than a knockout. So I think Oban Elliott covers his price tag unless he gets knocked out, and I think that that's not very likely. So give me Oban Elliott. I wish it was a better line, because I'd probably look to parlay him with Melissa Mullins. Not going to. I'm just saying that's probably who I'd parlay it with. Moving on to the next fight, we have first fight on the main card, Muhammad Naimov taking on Bogdangrad. I was telling you before this, man, Bogdangrad, maybe one of my favorite fighters to watch at this point. I don't want to be not on him in a fight that he wins. He's one of those fighters who looks to melt his opponents, and the entire time you're like constantly grimacing with how much punishment he takes before he actually finds success. But man, I think Muhammad Naimov might be the exact opponent where he's going to find that success. We've already seen Naimov the third round against Felipe Lima fade, get choked in round 3. In the Nathaniel Wood fight, the only round that was unanimous for Nathaniel Wood was round 3, when we started to see Naimov fade. And honestly, he got away with quite a bit in that fight. He was fence grabbing, tugging on shorts, doing everything else. It's a draw if the ref or whatever could have made that a fair fight. But Bogdangrad's just somebody where I think if he gets through that initial pressure of Naimov, who is going to be a little bit better than him, Grad's not a better MMA fighter than anybody that he's beaten, to be honest with you. He's just wants it more. He works harder, man. And I think that this is a guy he can really showcase that. If he just gets through that first 7 minutes of pressure, the last 7.5 minutes are going to be all Bogdangrad, and we're going to be rooting for him. It's going to be similar to Phil Rowe. I think a plus 235, like that's a decent enough price tag for me. Maybe Grad decision only. I'm curious what that looks like, because I feel like the books, might be overlooking that. But if Grad doesn't get melted early, I really think that pressure starts getting to Naimov. And, it sucks because we're kind of over in Naimov's part of the world. But I don't know, dude. I think Bogdangrad's the move here, and I always will bet him if he has even half a shot at winning. So give me Bogdangrad here.
Yeah, man. I bet Bogdangrad against Tom Nolan, against Michael Aswell, against Lucas Alexander. So at plus 235, yeah, I'm probably going to go back to the well. There's not many guys, like you said, that are willing to go out there and and fight for your dollar. And plus 235 is more than enough. I think you made a great point. Early on, he could be in some trouble. He might get hurt early on. That the Lucas Alexander fight, he's getting touched up early, but unless you put this guy away, he's going to continue to keep coming. And I think Naimov struggles with that exact type of fighter. And so, yeah, I think, like you said, first 7.5 minutes could be a little tight, but if he's still there, I truly do favor him to win the back half of this fight at a pretty decent clip. So Bogdangrad plus 235, man, with the way fight like lines have been moving this year, this area of the world we're in, Bogdangrad plus 250 by Saturday would not surprise me. So I'm going to hang out right now. And, yeah, I'll be having the unit on Bogdangrad myself. Moving up to 155, Nazim Sadikov taking on Nicholas Mata. Nicholas Mata is a big hitter, big counter puncher, but I don't really think he's going to be able to find Nazim. I think Nazim's got good footwork, in and out movement, knows how to play the range game. And I think Nazim's got the better striking, the better cardio, the better wrestling, the better durability, the better recoverability, everything. So, he's a massive favorite. Could the line be wide? Sure, but I definitely think he deserves to be a favorite, and he's a hometown Azerbaijan guy. So, yeah, crowd's going to be behind him, and I do think he puts Nicholas Mata away. It might not be in round one. He might just not starch him like some of these other guys have, but I do think eventually Sadikov's going to get to him, maybe even get his back and just pound him out from back control or something. But I like Sadikov inside the distance, probably round 2 or 3.
Yeah, I mean, this looks a lot like the Terrence McKinney matchup where you got Mata having a chance early, and then if it doesn't happen, we start to see just the overwhelming skill set of Sadikov really start to set in and showcase why he's the all-around better MMA fighter. So, yeah, give me him inside the distance as well. What's that line looking like? Come on.
Minus 170.
You got anything for me? What's that line looking
Minus
like?
170.
Okay, minus 470. So, yeah, fight doesn't go to the distance. So we're not really getting much, huh? It's inside. Okay, so we're not even getting plus money on inside the distance. Yeah, dude, I don't know. Probably a layoff fight for me with those numbers. So, yeah, even though I agree, it's just tough for me to lay juice on a path, just a single path to victory. I like those plus money shots. This isn't a fight that I've dug deep enough in to really want to lay too many units on it. But yeah, I agree. Nazim Sadikov should probably get the finish. Yeah, I think he's all around better fighter. All right, moving on to the 155-pound division. Miktakbek Oralbai taking on Tafik Muziev. Yeah, dude, I don't know. I think that this fight, I told you, I think it's the under 2.5, minus 118. That's what I'm looking to play this. Tafik, when he does get on top, he's got some vicious ground and pound, man. Like, he really wears dudes out if he can wind up on top, and he's got really, really quick striking, good little check hooks whenever somebody's entering the pocket recklessly. And Oralbai is kind of like I don't care if you punch me, I'm going to drown you type fighter. So I think he's going to give him the fight where we could see Tafik, land something good early, finish him. But at the same time, Oralbai pushes a pace I don't think Tafik's really used to. It's not I think that he can put together a more pressure forward game plan that could melt Tafik. So, yeah, give me that under 2.5. Looks like the fight doesn't go the distance. It's kind of getting hammered. But I think these guys are high level enough that it's either going to happen early in those first 2 rounds or it's not going to happen. So I'm not really worried about that extra 2.5 minutes that I'm losing. The under 2.5 minus 118 is good enough for me. And that's how I'd be looking to play this fight. Probably on the Tafik side, but just because I've seen him on top and I've seen him in the striking, where Oralbai, I feel like he's really got to drown somebody to win. So I guess Tafik timidly, don't really like that as much as I like the under.
So I'm on Tafik's side myself. Unit at plus 145, released earlier today. He's on a layoff, cardio, same question marks that you have. But, man, I like the guy's first level takedown defense. I trust him to keep this fight upright. He's a hometown guy, man, signed from another promotion, making his debut in his home country here, saved for this time on the main card. And a very experienced guy, the more experienced fighter here. clearly the better striker. And man, with Orbai, like you said, I feel like he's kind of got to get into his game. He's got to get those takedowns. He's got to drought him because on the feet, man, I mean, it's Tofik all day for me. I think Tofik could come out here and put him away in round one. Orbai's coming off a fight where he took a ton of damage, and now he's coming up against a guy who hits much harder than Mateusz Rebecki. So, yeah, I like Tofik plus money. I was kind of shocked to see him at plus money. I think he's a very solid fighter in his hometown with enough advantages for me to willing to be taking the shot. So, Tofik Musayev for myself. Rebooked fight, Curtis Blades versus Rizvan Kuniev. I was on the Kuniev side last time, man. I don't know if I'm going to get back to him this time here, even though, they've moved this fight to his part of the world, which you would think makes me a little bit more eager to get to his side. But you just kind of struggle to know which Kuniev's going to show up. He's popped a couple times, and is that what is the best Rizniev or Kuniev? The one that was fighting over in PFL? Because I really don't know, man. They've thrown him into deep waters. Curtis Blades, probably the better striker, probably the better wrestler. I just feel like he's a hard guy to lay chalk on when his durability can be brought into question. So you got to fly all the way across the world. Confidence, everything's been a question for Curtis Blades in the past. So I feel like personally it's Kuniev or pass, but I could also see Blades just going out there and running through him, man. So I ultimately do not have a good take here. Money line wise, it's dog or pass, but I think I'm going to switch my pickup. I don't think I'm going to take Curtis Blades.
Yeah, I think this is all Curtis Blades. If you're picking the Kuniev side, I think you'd be hard-pressed to do that before seeing him in weigh-ins. We've seen him skinny. We've seen him fat. If he comes in fat and not ready to defend 1 billion takedowns, he's going to get murdered, I think Blades is the much more proven fighter.
Well, Blades hasn't shot his takedown in like 3 years, dude.
That's true, but we know he's got it in him, dude. There's not another heavyweight on the roster that can land or shoot 25 takedowns,
100%,
So
100%.
we at least know he's got it in there. And I think if he finds out that he has the advantage there, he'll stick to that game plan. So, yeah, hopefully he hasn't completely fallen in love with the striking because he could look minus 300 like he's lined right here if he does choose to mix it up a little bit. So Blades are pass for me as well. Not interested in what I think looked like a pretty sloppy heavyweight in the last time that I've seen him. Kuniev is what I'm talking about. So moving on to the co-main event, dude. Probably my favorite spot on the card. We talked about this a little, man. We're getting, he's from Azerbaijan, but he was born in Kazakhstan, went to the Kyrgyzstan Police Academy for college, trains out of Thailand. This is just his part of the world, This is his backyard, as backyard as it gets. Rafael Fiziev is finally getting a striker matchup. He's fought RDA, Justin Gaethje, Mateusz Gamrot. These are fighters who all have some type of wrestling upside, and they're finally giving him Ignacio Bahamondes. He took the Justin Gaethje fight on short notice, 2-year layoff. Didn't look the best, but I think he shook off the rust, Now the UFC is rewarding him in his backyard against Ignacio Bahamondes with 0 takedown threat. And I think that the only reason why they can do that is because Ignacio has put together a decent 3-fight win streak. You're not going to sub Rafael Fiziev like Jalen Turner did. Jalen Turner, kind of known for giving up being super long. His neck is out there to be taken. And Ignacio wrapped it up. Fiziev isn't going to rush in like Manuel Torres. Christoph Thiagos isn't even in the UFC anymore. I think that this fight looks much closer to the Ludovic Klein, where we just see somebody who's more compact, a better striker, landing the better shots over 3 rounds. And we're going to see the toughness of Ignacio, but this is going to be a clear as day decision for Rafael Fiziev. Even look back further, John McDessie, who's the same size as Fiziev. He's a much better striker. He's able to put a better game plan together, and he doesn't hit half as hard as Fiziev. Like, this is something where I feel like a lot of people are trying to be big brain. They're seeing Ignacio Bahamondes, the younger fighter, the taller fighter. But dude, in a striking matchup, I take Fiziev over just about anybody, especially when he's not coming off of a 2-year layoff. This is a huge step down in competition and a huge step up in competition for Ignacio, who kind of lucked into a triangle choke in his last fight. This is a buy low spot for Fiziev. Plus 110. This is like a 3-unit play for me, dude. Like I have to hit Fiziev here. I told you if I don't hit him and he wins, I'll feel like such an ass. But this is Fiziev all day, Fiziev by decision. Ignacio's tough as nails. You're getting the decision at like plus 280. This is one of the easier plays in a while for me.
Yeah, man.
Talk me out of it, dude. Come on.
I can't. Earlier in the week, I was like, this is Fiziev all day. Then I was like, has he looked the same after the ACL? Ignacio's looking good lately, but you're right, man. It's like, Fiziev's coming in on short notice. He's fighting the much, better competition. And now he's in his backyard, dusted off the rust, and got a guy who's only going to strike with him, someone who doesn't bring the power of a Justin Gaethje into the equation. Ignacio is extremely hittable. I trust Rafael to be able to find his way on the inside, to land the more impactful shots, maybe be able to tear up a lead leg here. And in his backyard, landing the harder of the two shots. Ignacio wears damage pretty bad. Not saying Fiziev wears it great, but Ignacio doesn't wear it really good himself. And, whether we deserve the decision or not, I just think plus money on Rafael Fiziev is something like it's hard to pass up, man. And I think you'd be kicking yourself when it hits with ease. So, yeah, probably maybe half the stake, unit and a half, but I'm going to be on the Rafael Fiziev side myself, man. And last but not least, main event, Jamal Hill taking on Khalil Rountree. Jamal Hill coming off back-to-back knockout losses to Alex Pereira and then Jiri Prochazka, and Khalil coming off, not the same style of knockout, but still TKO loss to Pereira, where he took an absolute beating in that last round, just willed it out as much as he could until he started going to the body. Khalil's like Joaquin Buckley, man. Is he really top 5? Is he really up there with the top light heavyweights? I don't know. I don't really think so. Khalil's lost to fucking Marcin Prachnio, man. He can be melted. Like, he can show up and get out of the wrong side of the bed and just not be there that day. So I don't think he's deserving to be the favorite in a 5-round fight against Jamal Hill, who's been up there with the best competition. But Jamal Hill's a guy who's coming off, an Achilles tear, which is still a medical injury that, is career-ending and really detriment to people's careers. And not to mention that back-to-back KO losses, the way he just shows up in the Jiri fight just looking slow and stuck in the mud. Like, I'm not running to the window to want to bet him at plus 105. So if more Rountree money were to come in on fight night, if I can get Jamal Hill at plus 130 to plus 150 range, my hand could be forced there, because I do think he's got the volume, the boxing, the 5 rounds to get the job done. Khalil's just not a guy that I think is deserving of a price tag to be a favorite here over Jamal Hill. So it's Jamal Hill or pass. I'm picking Jamal Hill. And I hope there is some line movement, because I kind of want to bet it, man. I really do. Even though we've never really been the biggest Jamal Hill guys, but kind of want to bet the dude, man.
Yeah, dude. I don't know if I'm pumped up from the Fiziev breakdown or what, but this is a Jamal Hill spot. I don't think you should pass. I think that this is an absolute. You got to hit this. I told you earlier. I think I would hit it even harder if he wasn't coming off of back-to-back KOs. But almost 6 months. That's kind of like my 6 months is that threshold where it's like, I want you, if you're KO'd, you've got to wait that long before you come back. And even then it's like, it's a little tricky, but damn it, dude. If he had gotten knocked out in October and he waited until now to start fighting again, I would be in the same boat as the Fiziev fight and putting a ton of units on Jamal Hill. This is a super overcorrection for, I guess, a decent fight against Alex Pereira. Like, that's probably the best performance that Khalil could possibly hope for against Alex Pereira, and he still got melted. He just showed a lot of toughness, man. You talked about his losses to Marcin Prachniow. What about the ones to Lord Mikhail Olajaychik? Like, you look down his record, and is his best win the split decision over Dustin Jacoby? None of the other guys are in the UFC, or they got out of the UFC and then have come back in. Like, he's not that good of a fighter, and Jamal Hill a little flat-footed. So, if Muay Thai Khalil Rountree comes in there, he could have some success with the leg kicks early and really, uh, stop some of the pressure of Jamal Hill. But I don't see it, man. You likened who'd you liken Khalil to earlier, right at the beginning? Buckley. I liken him to Cowboy Cerrone, dude. Every once in a while, he'll show up and give you a good fight against the highest caliber, but every once in a while, he'll come in and look just piss poor, man. Like he shouldn't even be in the UFC. And I think coming off of this loss against Alex Pereira, where he's hung up, his fight gear from that fight, and it's a loss in his house, like he's looking at that like that's the pinnacle. That's me at my best. And I gave the champion a run for his money. What's he fighting for right now? There's no way he makes another run for the title. They're not giving him another title shot if he beats Jamal Hill now. Dude, he's done. He's toast, and he's due for shit in the bed right here. So barring him being able to knock out Jamal Hill, like I think all the upside is on Jamal Hill, and everybody's kind of looking past him because Yuri Prochazka knocked him out. It's just a tough matchup for him. I think Jamal Hill says some mean things to Khalil on face-offs. Khalil's going to be in his head. He's going to be rubbing on crystals. He ain't going to want to show up, dude. He is not going to want to show up. This is a crazy buy low spot for Jamal Hill here. People look to be seeing it as well. Let's see that his line is getting bet, and he's moving to pick'ems, and I bet that he ends up favorite by fight time. So plus 110 on DraftKings right now. That's the spot, dude. I think this is a Jamal Hill fight all day. I'm not high on Khalil Rountree at all, and I think that this is a spot where he shits the bed as a favorite. I've seen it too many times in his career.
Yeah, I agree, man. Quite a few dogs we're going to be eyeing this week, so keep an eye out on Twitter. I will be releasing the plays later this week. As always, make sure you like and subscribe. See you guys Saturday.
Peace.